we'll speak about the goal, because I thought Liverpool actually started really well, and there were half chances, a couple of moments whereby I thought we could be the ones to get the early lead here, and it comes from a Quansah pass, Steve. I mean, what a ball. Joel Quansah defensively was excellent, but I think one of the things that's not surprised people, I think he surprised people full stop, to be honest with you, since he came into the side, but has been that he's got that in his locker as well. He's got his passing range, he's got his use of the ball, he can carry the ball well, and he shows it off here because it's a wonderful pass to Diaz, but Diaz's touch and what he does after is what it's all about.
Absolutely, yeah. Diaz does really well. It was obvious that Liverpool, usually when we use the long ball behind the fullback, it's usually to a guy who's in space. Liverpool usually drag the play over one way and then go diagonally the other way. Mm-hmm. It feels like they've just decided they think Castagne's a bit crap in the air or something. Yeah. And ironically it was Diaz, and you wouldn't associate Diaz with that really, but the more you think about Diaz, he has got a really good leap. He's done that quite often. We've seen goals he scored with his head.
One,
yeah, exactly. And it felt like that was a plan from minute one. And he gets a little bit of luck with the maybe a bit of a double deflection or whatever, but he earns it with that first touch. The first touch, not only does he win the ball, he chests it down for himself, and then he's running into the box. And when you're running into the box and the static defenders or defenders scrambling back, anything can happen. You know, both goals in this game came through half lucky deflections or bounces or whatever. But yeah, I thought Diaz got name man of the match, and I think that was fair. I think he probably was the best player. Liverpool, listen, we're going to do ratings later, and it might just be a lot of average ratings because that's all it needed to be. But I thought Diaz, for the most part, was the one who his tenacity shows again. I felt when we got to the finals last year, and in particular winning the final, it felt like Diaz's tenacity was a real big bonus in semi-finals last year, especially going back to Villarreal, for example. Yeah. I felt it again today. He wasn't always at his best. I think he could have scored more goals, actually. I think he scuffs a couple. Mm-hmm. But he constantly caused them problems. And, him and Gakpo both start. And I'd say, if you're ranking Liverpool's attacking options 1 to 5, Diaz and Gakpo probably 4 and 5. They both start on the flanks. I thought they both had good games. But yeah, Diaz was the standout. Yeah. He earns a little bit of luck with how good he was with the chest control and his directness into goal. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, that's the goal that sends us to Wembley. Like Luis Diaz has scored, he's only been here a couple of years, he scored semi-final goals. Now, big goals. Yeah. His goal record is sometimes questioned, and I think that's fair because he probably doesn't score as much as we want him to. No. But he scored semi-final goals again. Big goals, Liverpool. Without him, we wouldn't have been in the Champions League final, and now we wouldn't have been in the League Cup final. So credit to him for that, because I don't think anyone was quite outstanding in terms of an attacking sense, but he was probably the best of the lot of them.
Ultimately, we didn't need to be, did we? I think had Fulham maybe have shown a little bit more in the early stages, we might have upped our game and upped our levels. But yeah, I think it was a case of essentially doing enough throughout. And then, as I mentioned, when it got a little bit nervy, maybe we had to go up a couple of gears, but we did. But yeah, Luis Diaz was probably the pick of the bunch, in all fairness, certainly from an attacking sense. I've got his numbers up here, but you mentioned there how we've always sort of clamoured for him to score more goals, but that's so difficult because, albeit he's never really blown us away in terms of his output, when you're sort of stacking him up compared to Sadio Mane, that's nigh on impossible to achieve because that just doesn't come around very often. That type of winger, you got Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane, they don't really exist outside of that. But Diaz tonight, that obviously the goals you mentioned, 2 shots on target outside of that, 3 dribble attempts and 3 successful dribbles, which is nice.
Well, he had Castagne's on toast. In the end, he got took off.
Yeah, exactly. He had to get out.
Tete comes on and ironically gets involved.
Get out the 5. 3 key passes as well. 6 out of 10 ground duels and 4 out of 8 aerial duels. So that's a relatively strong all-round game. That.
Yeah, like I say, the stats suggest that he was the best. And I backed the eye test up. Like I say, nobody was like, in an attacking sense, was like 10 out of 10 because it didn't need to be. But yeah, you're right. And again, that the ground stuff. Basically, Liverpool played 8 long balls towards him. He wins half of them. Yeah. Like, really, he shouldn't win that many. You'd think, but he did. He was constantly battling, and like I say, he works his nuts off. He always does. Like, you can't argue with that. And ultimately, like I say, in that first half, it was his goal that was the difference. And credit to him. It was interesting that he was left and Gakpo was right. Jürgen spoke about putting players in their 1A positions. Diaz got his 1A position and Nunez got his. It was Gakpo who got told to go and do the graveyard shift on the right, which feels like it's a bit of rotation while the King's currently nursing his hamstring. And yet, I thought, a lot of one-on-one battles that players had to win, and one of them was Diaz v Castagna, and hands down, mate, how often the left back gets just subbed off. Like,
exactly, it doesn't happen.
Because they're having one, and that's what was happening. He was having one, he really was. Fulham had just scored, he was searching for another goal, and Tete comes on. Yeah. Maybe he might be a bit better attacking, but I'm sure a lot of it was down to Diaz. And then, even at the end, mate, when we're trying to get out, because it could have been nervous.
Yeah.
He helped there, him and Jota linking up,
again,
fouls, throw-ins, free kicks, carrying, Paulina fouls and he gets up and carries on running. It was a really good performance from him. And like I say, it's not the first time he's done it in a semi-final.
No, it's not, mate, no. And I think as well, it's the fact that he's coming back to his best now, because I think when he first arrived at the club, we were all absolutely just in love with what he brought. He had that X factor, that dynamism, the fact he could just do something off the cuff, and just a really exciting player to watch. And I think through injury and through what's going on in terms of his personal life as well, he's lost a little bit of that in recent times. But all of a sudden, these past 3, 4, 5 weeks now, we're starting to see Luis Diaz back to his best, and tonight was another example of that. And long may it continue, because when he's at his A game, he can produce moments like he's done tonight and like he's done previously, as you say, and he can be a match winner for Liverpool Football Club essentially.